Okay, this is going to be the SolidWorks video for the mouse activity, and I'm going to not waste any time. I'm going to go straight into the top plane, and I'm going to draw a corner rectangle from the origin. I'm going to set it to be all construction lines, and I'm going to dimension it to be 122 by 28. Okay, I'm going to end that sketch, and I'm going to rename the sketch reference dimensions. Ref dimensions, because it dictates the overall length, and half, because we're going to mirror this mouse, it's going to represent half the width of it. So I'm going to open a new sketch in the top plane. I'm just going to stretch that over. So a new sketch, normal 2, didn't need to do that. And I'm going to draw a 5 point spline. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to lock these points, the end points, onto the end of the previous sketch. I could pierce them as well, but I think it's okay to just make a coincident relationship. I'm going to make this horizontal, both of them actually, both spline handles at the end. I'm going to drag this one out a little bit here. Horizontal spline handles. And what I will do, I'll try to achieve something. I basically want the curve. I want this to touch off this here. I'm going to make it tangential to it, like so. And I shouldn't have done that. I don't want to mess with spline handle at the moment, so I'm just dragging spline points around. Okay, like so. Now the manual that we use for this has a lot of dimensions for each point here. So I'm just going to go and fully define sketch for a second. Okay, and I'm just going to round each one up close to what it is in the in the guide that we have. I think that one there is about 20. And this is also 20. So I'm just rounding up. It's not going to be the exact same as the guide. It shouldn't be much of a problem. Like so. What I want to do as well here is maybe lengthen this spline handle there. And you can see sometimes that spline handles, when you mess with them, they have knock-on effects. So I'll just undo that there for a second. Maybe bring that a little bit in. It's actually not letting me do anything with that spline handle in terms of the length of it. I think I'll just keep it the way it is there. So now what I'll do is exit that sketch, and I'm going to call that sketch base edge. So that's the sketch of the base of the mouse. Okay. What I'll do now is on the top plane again. So top plane sketch, and I'm going to go with a, let's see here. So if the sketch a spline that lies slightly outside the base edge sketch that we just done. Okay, so I will draw a spline here, and I'm going to make sure that these 2 points are vertical. I'm going to kind of do something similar to the previous sketch. I'll lock that point on there. Do the same thing, but actually I shouldn't have locked that on there. I want to go down a little bit further with that, so I'm going to delete that relation there. I'm going to bring that down, and I want to mess with the spline handles again. Make sure they are horizontal, both of them. Reason being, we're going to be mirroring it later on. Now the gap that we want, I'm going to just make sure that these points stay vertically in line with each other. Like so. And I'm just going to adjust my spline handles somewhat here. So just try adjust yours to kind of match mine. It's hard to get them perfect. The actual guide, unfortunately, it has the dimensions, the actual dimensions of each spline point cut off, so I actually don't know what the exact dimensions are. I think I meant to have another spline point in here. So if we want to add another spline point into a spline, right click on the spline and go to insert spline point. I'm going to put one about there. Maybe drag that down a little bit there like that. I'm not going to obsess over it too much. I will fully define the sketch and maybe do some rounding again. So 130, 115, 66, 39 rounded up. A couple more here, 7 if I can get into it. And I'll do 6 for this one, 25 for this one, 26, 32, and that's it, done. Now I'm just noticing that there should be probably a bit of bigger gap around this area here. So that point there, I'm just going to bring that back to 25. Sorry, wrong one. Which point was it? Maybe, sorry, this one here. I'll bring that to 24. Didn't make much of a difference. Maybe I'll drag this out a little bit. So we're going 26.5. Maybe bring it to 27. I know I said don't obsess over it, but now here I am obsessing over it. I'm happy with that. I'll just end that sketch and I'm going to call that profile top, or top profile. Okay, so 3 sketches now I have. Now what we'll do is we'll move on to the right plane and we're going to draw some elevational sketches. Once again, we're going to go with a spline, and I want to stay in line with this one here. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to make these ones here horizontal. This one here horizontal. This one here also horizontal. If I can get into it. That point to be vertically in line. Actually won't let me do that, I don't think. No, it's not letting me pick up that point there. So what I could do is from here just draw a center line to ensure that it stays vertical at all times. So I'm going to mess with this profile here a little bit. I drop that down, lower that profile a wee bit. I'm just looking at the diagram. It actually doesn't have this to be horizontal, so I'll just take that off like so. I've no set, the diagram doesn't have a set height here, so I might just pick 9 to begin with, and I'll go with 12 here, and I'll fully define the sketch and do my rounding again. So I'll go 24, 18, 9, 7, I'll go 38 here, 100, 130 and 12. Okay, I'll go with that. I can always go back at some stage later and I'll change it if I want, if I'm not happy with it. So I'm going to call this side profile. Now what we're going to do is we're going to project a curve here. We're going to project this curve here onto this curve here in 3D space. So we're going to get a 3D curve that's non-planar, which means it's not on the plane. So I'll go Features, Project Curve, and I want to project a sketch and a sketch, and I'm going to project that one onto that one there. Now you'll see the yellow preview is perfectly locked on here and here. If you don't get one that's perfectly locked on there at either end, it means that the sketches that you're projecting don't line up with each other. Basically one goes outside or inside the other. It's ideal to kind of keep them in line with each other. So that yellow curve there is basically the elevation of that curve and the plan of that curve mixed together into one 3D curve in 3D space. And I'm going to call this projected curve. I'm going to give this a quick save. I think I set up a folder on my desktop called PDST mouse, I think. PDST mouse. I have, let me see here now, PDST mouse. I have two logos in it that we're going to use as decals later on. Okay, so PDST mouse. So I'm going to call this mouse. Simple as that, really. Okay, what's the next thing? So I'm going to just turn on both of these sketches here so that we can see what we're working with, or what we have to date. Now what I'm going to do is, so we're going to do a loft from, I think it's this curve here at the bottom onto this curve here, but what we'll do is get some guide curves going, 3 of them, one at either end and one in the middle, to influence the loft that we're going to do. And the guide curve will join this curve here, which is basically, if you think about the mouse when it's in contact with the ground, this is the curve that it has, so I need to join it, get a little curve going from here to here. So we'll go onto the right plane again and look normal, and I could go with splines here, but the manual says to use arc, so I'll go with a 3-point arc, and I'm not going to join it on just yet, so I'll go 1, 2 and set the curvature. I'll do the same over the far end, 1, 2, set the curvature, and that's locked into a quarter circle shape there. So I'm just going to delete that for a second, go again, 1, 2, and kind of set the curvature there like that. Now I'm going to pierce this point onto this curve here, it needs to be attached, and I can do the same with that one there, and I think I can just make that coincident. Same here, pierce that point onto this curve, and I think I can just coincidentally lock them 2 points together like so. Let me look back at it in the right plane like so. Now I need to get the guide has a specific angle set up here, 15-degree angle, so what I'll do here is set up a center line. The center line and the curve have to be tangential, and I think the angle between the center line and that line there has to be 15 degrees. Okay, I don't know if that's done much to it there, but that's what the guide is saying. I wouldn't worry too much about it if you can't get it. And this one here just simply has to be a radius 10 curve, like so. So I'm not happy with this diagram here. I'm just going to delete that line for a second. So just reading the diagram there. The arc near the origin, that's over here, should be a tangent to a line 15 degrees from the horizontal, and the other arc should simply be 10. Okay. So maybe if I just join that to there, go 15 degrees there, and now make it tangential to that curve. Okay, yeah, that's it there. Okay, so just maybe when you're drawing that center line, draw it to the origin, 15-degree angle, make it tangential, everything's gone black there. Okay, so these are my guide curves. So what do we call it? I think we'll just call them side guide curves. And I'm going to do one more guide curve somewhere in the middle here, so I need to set up a new plane based on the front plane. Now, how far will we go back? Maybe I'll use this point here as a reference point. Now, on that plane, I'm going to draw myself another arc, 3-point arc, I think. So 1, 2, set the curvature, and I will do the same again. I'll snap it onto this 3D curve, pierce it on, and I will do the same onto this curve here, pierce at that point. Now it has a weird dimension on it where we draw a center line. I wouldn't really worry about this if I was doing my own project, but a center line from there to there, and we have to set a gap. This is going to be hard to get actually. Shift key. So I think we have to get a 1.25 gap between the outer point of the arc, I presume, and this center line here. So it's smart dimension, select the line. Now listen to what I'm saying. I'm holding the shift key and I select the arc and look at the type of dimension that I got there. So I was holding the shift key, then I clicked the arc. That's meant to be 1.25, like so. I don't think I need to do anything else with it. And I'm going to end that sketch and I'm going to call that middle guide curve. Mid guide curve. Okay, I'm going to also call this one here guide curve plane. Try name everything as much as you can, give it as much description as you can, and as accurate as you can as to what it actually is. Now we'll do a surface loft here. Okay, so our surfaces toolbar, if it's not open, right click on any of the tabs there and go surfaces. So we'll go with a surface loft, or a lofted surface, and we are going from this curve here up to this curve here. Now it didn't give me the preview there. I think why it didn't do that is because I went through this in a previous video. If I'm clicking the right hand side of one curve, I have to click the right hand side of another curve, and it still didn't do it for me there. So what I'll do here is I'll drag this blue point over to here, the green point, and there we have it. Okay, so just make sure the two green dots are in line with each other. We will then add in some guide curves. That's an open loop guide curve. I'll add this one, which is also open loop, and then finally the last one there. Okay, now my start and end constraints. Let's go in here. These are for the two main curves. I'm going to go normal to profile for the bottom one, and the other one, so that's this one, that's the projected curve. I don't think I can select normal to profile for that. No, I can't. No, I can't. But what I would like to do here is, and the guide doesn't do this, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come out of this for a second, and I'm going to add in what's called a direction vector. Now, I can't do normal to profile for that curve there, right? Because it's not on a plane. So I can't, because it's not on a plane, as the loft is working towards the plane, well, there's no plane there, I can't do the normal to the plane thing. So what I can do is set up what's called a direction vector. Now, I might be able to recycle a vector, even though we can't go normal to the plane. What I'd like to do here is maybe use this as a guide for the loft. As it's transitioning up from the bottom towards this curve here, at the very last second, all the way along that curve, the loft will go vertical, or, you know, using that there. It's called the direction vector. So let me try that again. Surfaces, lofted surface, bottom to top. Now this is weird here because it's not letting me choose the curve now for some reason. Okay, so if this doesn't happen for you, go to this arrow here and select that way. Okay, that's fine. Now my start constraint, that's the projected curve. Now that's the one that I want to have the direction vector. So there's direction vector selected, and I'm going to use this as a direction vector. Okay, so just as it transitions towards this curve here, it's going to follow the angle of that line there. And the other one is the base edge. That's on a plane, so I want to go normal to profile. And my guide curves, don't forget them. Open loop, let me try that again. There we are. Second one, there we are. You can see it's molding its way around these guide curves. Okay. Now with these ones here, the two end ones, they need to be open to normal to profile as well, because we're going to mirror this over to the far side over here, so it needs to transition perpendicular. The middle one, it doesn't matter. The middle one, it doesn't matter because it's not an axis of symmetry. So green tick that. Now we have a surface. And what's next on the list? Okay, so we're going to work on the top curve of the mouse now. Okay, so we go to the right plane. Give it a quick save there. And what we're going to do is, now I don't like the way the guide does this. It gets us to draw an ellipse, a partial ellipse, which is very difficult. I can never get the hang of it myself. It's very hard to work. So what I'll just do is I'm going to cheat it a little bit, and I will use a could possibly use a 3-point arc. 1, 2, set the radius there. And I'm going to add a Pierce relationship of this point here onto the existing 3D curve. Now I'm going to make sure that that curve, it's there. Okay, so I'm going to hide these ones for a second. So select that point again, and it's that blue curve that I want there, Pierce. And same here, Pierce. Okay, and I'm going to move the center line up a little bit like that. Now just looking at the diagram, an ellipse would be better than this, so I'm not going to do the ellipse thing. I'm going to use a spline because it's more heavy towards the back. So 1, 2, 3, I'll go like that, pierce it on, take that point, pierce it onto the curve there, and I will manipulate this spline handle here, both of them. Change the angle a little bit. Just be careful with the spline points. They can be awkward at times to use. Okay, so that looks good enough for me. Okay, it's very similar to the, if I just drag in the manual there, that's what I'm after there. The partial ellipse is very hard to work with, so I'll just go with that there. Okay, now I've fully defined that sketch as well now. Maybe round it up, 110, 36, grand. Okay, so we'll call that, we'll just call this top profile. Now the next thing is, there's a couple of different things we can do here. We're going to do another 3D surface fill from this curve here, the top curve up to this curve here, and there's a number of different ways we can do it. The one the manual uses is a fill surface. Now, fill surface requires us to have, like, if we just try to do a fill surface between these two curves right now, let's see what happens. Okay, you get that kind of effect there, but I I can't get a normal to profile, I don't think. This, hold on, let me just check that again. Yeah, I can't get normal to profile. What we'd use instead is a tangent. So a tangent, as the loft is being completed, it will go tangential to something. So let me just see if a lofted surface would work here. So the lofted surface is not even let me select that curve for some reason. Or is it? There we are. And we could try do the normal to profile. It's actually not bad, and we could do the direction vector again, because we want it kind of coming off this 3D curve here. So I'm going to recycle it and just see what the result is like actually. Now I just noticed that the sketch that I used earlier for the direction vector, I turned it off. So I'm going to just bring it back out there. So once again, lofted surface, there to there. Start end constraints. The end constraint I can do normal to profile. The start constraint, which is the 3D curve, I'll go with a direction vector, and we'll see what that looks like there. It's not bad. It looks a bit bulky, but let me accept it there for a second, and that's what it looks like. Now if I just delete that, and we'll see what the other one looks like, the filled surface. Now the filled surface requires us to have an extruded surface to go tangential to. Okay, so you'll see what it means now in a second. So I'm just going to extrude this in the opposite direction, 10 millimeters. Okay, so now I have something to work off with the tangent setting. So filled surface, going from this one here to this one here, and I want to go, I think it's tangent, or the curvature. So for the filled surface, what we need to do here is we need to make sure that, because I need to select the edge here, and that's the actual sketch. It's not the sketch I need to select, it's actually the edge of the surface when I go to do this filled surface. So I need to make that sketch hidden there to make this work. So filled surface, I'm going to select the edge there, not the sketch, and the projected curve there. There's our preview. Now for this one here, I want to have tangent, and you can see it's after rounding itself off there. And I think we need to leave optimized surface, obviously clearly we need to leave optimized surface ticked there. Okay, I don't think this makes much of a difference here, but we'll go green tick. I'm going to hide this surface now, I don't need it, it's obsolete now. Then what I will do is a mirror about the right plane. So features, mirror. Now bodies to mirror, that one and that one. And I can knit the surfaces now together. So it's just one surface body. Now it's open at the bottom. So, and that's just a flat. That's just a flat. It's not a 3D surface, if you like. It's on a plane. It's a surface that is needed. The surface that's needed is basically on a plane. So I have a very simplified planar surface option here that will fill in the bottom. So if I select the edge and the other edge, it'll just fill that 2D space rather than a 3D space. Okay. And the next thing that we do is we knit all our surfaces together. 1, 2, 3, and we create a solid out of it, a solid block. Okay, so now I'm just going to hide my sketches. So now I have a body done. So that's usually the first thing you do. You try and make the body of the object that you're trying to draw, the main body, and then you work off that. So everything's hidden there. I'll give it a quick save. Okay, just to prove that it's solid, I'll just trim it there. Yeah, you can see it's hollow in the center, or it's not hollow in the center. Grand. The next thing we'll do is we'll create the little division between the top and the bottom, like the gap. It's a very, very, very small gap. So on the right plane, what I'll do is I will sketch a corner rectangle, and I will snap it into this corner point here, like so, and I'm just going to zoom into it there, and it's going to be 3 long, and it's going to be 1 high, like so. Exit that sketch, and what I want to happen here is this little rectangle, I want it to cut out all the way along that curve, all the way around the body back to the start. Now, as far as I know, I'm going to try it. The guide says that I have to do something different here, but maybe this might work if we use the projected curve that we had earlier. Let's see if it'll do this. So we're going to, I think it's a swept cut, it's called. Let's just see if it does it with this half here. So features, swept cut. So it's like a swept boss base, except it's cutting out. That's the profile, the square. The path that I wanted to take is that here. Now it's giving me a very good profile preview there, which I think will work. Now I might be able to mirror this over. We'll see what happens now in a second. Okay, so it's got a problem there. But what I'll do is, maybe that projected curve, I'm going to see if I can mirror that about the right plane. I don't know if I can mirror 3D curves, so I'd have to go into sketch. Now there's 3D sketches that we can work with here. Let's see if we can mirror that 3D sketch. Mirror it about. Now it's not letting me pick up that curve. No, it's not letting me pick it up. Okay, so I'm going to have to go the way of manual. Okay, so what we'll do here is I'm going to exit that sketch for a second because I don't need it. I'm going to turn off my projected curve. I don't need that. I'm going to go to the top plane, look normal to it, and what I want to do is use this outline here, convert that into a sketch. So sketch, I have to select the line command first and then convert entities, and I'm taking that profile and that profile there, and I'm going to basically turn it into a sketch that's on the top plane. Now I can still get that to travel along, so just exit my sketch. So I'll call that swept cut profile path, swept cut curve, actually I'll call it that, swept cut curve, and that's my swept cut profile or shape. Let's see if this works now. So I'm going to go swept cut. I lost it now, or there it is, and that's my shape. This is my profile, and you can see it's gone. Okay, so that's not working there. Okay, so let me just. Okay, so I just figured it out. It wouldn't work for me a second ago to convert entities of the 3D curve going around the side, but it works now. Let me just show you. Sketch, 3D sketch. Go to draw a line, but then go convert entities. Now it's letting me select it, and it'll let me select the other one, and it'll basically turn the two of them into a 3D sketch. So now, and I'm not sure what this is for at the moment, but we'll come back to it. Features, swept cut, take your profile, and the path will be your 3D. Now you can see it's gone all the way around the profile. Just give it a second there. And it's not cutting out for me for some reason. Let me just try that again. So in options, follow path, I think this has to be set. Profile, alignment type. Okay, I just have to stop in the video there and starting again. I realised that there was actually a problem with the guide last year. It only occurred to me now. In the guide, when it asks you to set up the little profile here, it gets you to lock it into the front corner here. Now there's a problem with that. it actually needs to overlap the front. Now, I was trying different variations of the swept cut there using the two different curves that I had, and it wasn't working. The problem is that this curve here is locked into the front. We need to move that curve just slightly outside it. Doesn't matter how far outside it, it's only from the portion within the rectangle and to the body that will get cut. Okay, so moving back over, I'm going to go to my sketch, and what I'll do here is, I want to keep it kind of level with this point, but I'm going to set up a little center line here. That's completely horizontal. This point here, I'm going to delete the coincident relation, and I'm just going to move this along. Now, I see the problem there. Now, the center line that I had set up initially, let me just delete that coincident relation again. I want it to go from here, and I'm going to drag that up onto it so that it just goes outside it slightly, meaning that the cut will be slightly less than 3, but it doesn't really matter. Okay. So once it bypasses the front, end my sketch, and we actually don't need this sketch here. Okay, so apologies, it's the booklet that you have is slightly wrong. So swept cut, profile is this, and the close, and this is the profile that it follows, or the curve that it follows. Green tick. Please work. Yes, it did work. There we have a little cut all the way along. Okay, so this sketch here, I'm going to delete that because it is absolutely useless. Okay, give it a quick save. Okay, now the next thing. Just looking at the guide again, but sure, can I trust the guide? Not really. The next thing we're doing here is we're going to get the little split up the center, the division between the left and the right mouse button. So what I'll do here is I'll go on to the right plane again, and I'm going to do another convert entity of this top curve here. Okay, so select line, convert entities. I want the face, I want the edge. Okay, and then what I'll do here is from the center of this here, I'm going to draw myself a vertical line as a reference line and another center line and create an angle. You'll see why in a second. The angle between the two lines is going to be 20 degrees. And now what I'm going to use is this 20-degree line to trim off that converted entity that I have there. I don't want that one either. So really all I'm left with is that. So that's the split line that I'm going to use. That's the length of the little gap between the two mouse buttons. So I'm going to end the sketch there. I should probably be naming these as I go along, but I'm not going to bother now at the moment. What I want to do now is set a little plane up at the end of this line so that I can draw another little rectangle that I can get to sweep along that curve there and cut out another swept curve to cut out the little gap. So features, reference geometry plane. There's the plane, but I want to select this point here. There we go, green tick, and on that plane, doesn't matter that it's upside down, a 1.5 by a 1.5 center rectangle from here. .5 by 1.5, like so. And what I'll do now is another swept cut. So features, swept cut, this profile along this curve here. It's not letting me select it. There we go. There's the preview. It's cutting it out. Voila. Hide that plane. There's my little cutout. Okay, quick save. Now what I'm going to do is get the little cutout for the mouse wheel to sit into, and I'm going to set up another plane in a similar method that I set up that plane there. So what I'll do is I'll go to the right plane, look normal to it. I'm going to set up another center line. This one is from, I think, the center again. I'm just going to draw at that angle. and I've done that wrong. It's not meant to be a vertical dimension, it's meant to be an inline dimension of 37.5, a 60-degree angle between here and here. Try that again. 60 degrees, and I think I need to get rid of this here actually. The midpoint relation, it's not meant to be in the middle. From there to there, sorry, from the origin to that point there. Now it's thrown up a measurement issue here, so I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to get rid of this coincident here. See that midpoint, it didn't disappear for some reason. Try that again. I'm just going to delete all. Delete all. It's not letting me delete it. Hold on now. Delete all. Okay, try that again. From there to there, it should be 45. And I want that coincident there. And the length of that line, 37.5. Green tick. Okay, so I'm going to use that now. Not 100% sure. I think this plane is meant to actually go slightly over it, over the front. So I'm just going to increase that to maybe 40. Or what I could do, oh yeah, so it's going to be different because of the ellipse that I didn't draw earlier. What I'll do here is maybe I'll just snap it on. I might do a convert entity here. So I want the plane maybe there. I don't even need to do a convert entity. Let's just go with that. And what I'll do is set up another plane, reference geometry plane, select the line, and select the point, like that. Now I hope this works. If not, I'm going to move it out slightly. I think I should move it out slightly because it's kind of slightly cutting the body there. So if I go back to the sketch, I might change my angle to 65. Let's see what that plane looks like now. Go back to the front view. Let's say that'll work. Let's say that'll work. Okay, I'll go with that. So basically what you're doing now is if you do the same shape top as I did, you might need to go with a 65-degree angle. Okay. Now, on that plane, I am going to draw a sketch of a slot, a straight slot, and I should probably get a center line going here. And the center point slot, it's saying is from the origin. So I'm just going to, I'm not happy with that center line there actually. In fact, maybe I don't need a center line. Try it again. Center point slot. And we'll add some dimensions in. 18.2 of all measurements. And the radius is 3. And if we anything else there, so there's still a bit of play in it there, so I'm going to lock that point there in. For some reason it's not picking the origin up too well. There, it's picking it up now. Coincident. And everything should be gone black. Yeah, grand. So that's my slot. Now I'm just flicking down through the guide there, and I'm noticing that if I just bring over the guide, that the center point, the center cut is not there anymore, which is unusual. I wonder why it's not. So maybe what it does here is, before it does the cut, maybe it's going to hide the cut sweep. So if you hide something, actually maybe not, that doesn't make sense. I'll bring it back in again. So once again, there's flaws in the actual in the guide, but anyway, let's just do an extruded cut of that slot, and it goes into a 21 millimeters. That's extruded cut, so let's see, it's going blind, so all bodies. Hopefully this works. Yeah, now you see this, there's a couple of little parts there that are left in, and that's probably to do with that plane that we had earlier. So I'm going to go back to the sketch for that plane, and I just wanted to clear it, really. I think I just change that to 66. See what the plane is like now. Does it leave anything? It's still leaving a bit of stuff there. So what I might do here is just to kind of completely make sure. So I'm going to bring that back to 60. I'm just going to bring that out slightly past it. Okay, and you can see the cutout is much neater now. There's no little bits left over there. So I'm going to hide that, give it a save. Next thing we have to do is put fillets around the edge, and they're 5mm fillet radiuses, 5mm radius fillets all the way around. So that can't be right. 5mm. That is not correct. 5mm fillet should not do that damage. Possibly another mistake by the book. So I'm going to go 0.5. Yeah, it looks about right. Oh, I shouldn't have selected that face there. Let's just click that again. Now, that's what we want here. And I might even just fillet these while I'm at it. Edge 8 doesn't like it. So I'm probably going over the top here with the fillets maybe. I'll just accept that there. That's a face now. I don't want the whole face selected. Let's just go with that. You can always go back later on and fillet stuff. Maybe I want that one in here. That edge there. That one. So once again, I'm kind of deviating from the book here, but then again, sure, the book isn't right. There's flaws in it, so I'm just going to go with what I feel is right here to make it look good. Yeah, I'll just go with that. Okay, so there's our fillets. Right, next thing is to put holes in the walls of this cutout here, so that we can draw an axle, or place an axle for the mouse wheel. So I will go hidden detail visible there for a second, so I can see in there. And so it's a poor sketch again by the booklet, but I think I have to go with a center line from the midpoint of this cutout, probably parallel to the walls. Parallel. Does it let me do this one here as well? Okay, anyway, that'll do. And I put a little circle on this line here somewhere, and that will be diameter 2. And the center point of the circle will be 12.5. Hopefully this works out now. Let's turn on my hidden detail. Right, so I'm going to do an extruded cut but it's going to be mid-plane, so it's going to go on both sides. Sorry, after going back into the sketch there, try that again. So mid-plane, and the distance is 14 millimeters. Okay, so now you have two holes on both walls of this slot cut out. Okay, where are we now? Okay, on the bottom, easy stuff now. On the bottom we're going to put some detail. So sketch, center line, and we're going to go with some circles. So we'll put one circle here, and we'll put a slightly bigger circle here. These are kind of like rubber feet or grips on the bottom. This one has to be 12 horizontally. It has to be diameter 8, and it has to have a vertical distance to the origin of 16. And this one down here has to have the same radius as the one above, so I will set an equal relationship in a second. That's 16. Vertical distance down to this point here is 18. And I will select that circle, and I will set an equal relationship. Okay, and then of course I'm going to mirror about the center line, like so. And there's a little 2 on this line here. There's a little diameter 2 circle. This is for a little LED, little infrared light LED, whatever it is, like so. And that has a distance of 30 to the origin vertically. I'll try that again. Grand. Now, I'm going to try something here. So we're going to go with an extruded cut of, this is all the one sketch now, but just an extruded cut for that one. Select extruded cut command, 4 millimeters, I think that is. And I'm going to go extrude boss base. Let me just come out of that for a second. I want to see that sketch again. Make it visible. Extrude boss base, and I'm going to select, go down to contours and just 4 circles. If I chose the whole sketch, it would have taken the little diameter 2 one there as well. Now those are 0.25. And do we merge the result? I have a feeling that this is going to be an extra part, but I wouldn't even bother putting them as a part. I will just merge result, and I'm going to hide that sketch. Okay, so nearly there. The wheel hub, probably what I would do here, I'm going to do it in position actually. I know the guide gets you to do it as a separate part, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to be a rebel here, and I'm going to do it within the same part. Now I need the sketch for that there. Okay. Now the wheel. Let me think about this now. Okay, maybe I might have to do this. Let me think about this now. I could set a new plane up, but it would want to be perpendicular to that. Alright, just bear with me for a second. I'll select that there, and I'm going to go perpendicular to it. No, that's not right. Try that again. Plane. Use that there. Actually, that would probably work. I just want the plane on that there. Maybe I have a plane already good enough. No, I don't. Okay. I'm going to do this as a separate part. Right, I'm going to just start another part. I'm not going to draw it in place here. I'm going to start another part, new file. And it's a very quick part that we'll do. It's going to be done based on a revolve. And I will do it on the front plane. doesn't really matter because it's going to be mated later. It'll adjust it anyway. And I'll go to center rectangle. Does it really matter? Corner. I'm going with the book here. Corner rectangle. But sure, you know yourself, that could be a waste of time. And I'm going to do two little sticky up parts here. And I'm going to trim out a couple of little bits in here. Now I could be making trouble for myself here, but sure, we'll see what happens. Okay, so from here to here has to be 6. The width of this is 6. The height of this is 0.25. And the width of that is 0.25, I presume. And I'm going to make that there and that there equal. And I'm going to make that there and that there equal. So that should be fully defined. Okay, I think that's okay. And let me think about this here. Sorry, I'm just talking to myself here. So I'm going to do a revolve. Now we could do a revolve. Let me think about this. We have a diameter 2 hole to go in the center of it. I could have actually done the revolve here. If I come down, let me just try something here. If I come down 2 millimeters here, just bring that back up. So from there, so it's diameter 2, so that would need to be 1 actually. I'm going to make sure that that point there and that point there is locked in line vertically, and that one there and that one there is locked in line vertically. Grand. Okay, so let me try something here. So I'm going to do a revolve of that shape about this axis, and it's going to leave a hollow center, a hole in the center. I hope. That's the plan. Okay, yeah, that worked for me. Green tick. Now, actually, let me think about this here. There's actually no, in the center, there was no hollow hole. There's actually a shaft to go in the center. So let me think about this. Could I, so the shaft has to be 14. If we think about the 2 holes we put in the previous mouse part here, so that hole there, that was extruded 14. That was 14. Okay, so basically the shaft that's going to be on this new part has to be 14 as well. So I could actually build that into my sketch here. So if I delete that, okay, and I go, extend that out. Now we're going to have to do a bit of surgery on this here, but sure, it'll be grand. Now the whole thing has to be 14, and I want this select midpoint of that and select midpoint of that. Does it let me do it? Right click, select midpoint, hold, right click, select midpoint. Okay, so let me, okay, forget that. Let's try to be smart and do something a bit off the wall, but I'm going to take all these out. I'm just going to revolve it as normal, so it's going to have a solid center. And of course I got a error. That's great, brilliant. My axis of revolution now is going to be this one. That was the error. Now on the top plane, sorry, right plane, now if the, I'm just looking at this here now, if the sketch, if the manual was any good, it would have put this in the center. So if I select, and I'm going to try something again here, once again trying to fix up the mistakes of a book. If I make them coincident, no, it won't move. Ideally I should have had the origin in the center there, no matter. What I'll do is I'll just set up a new plane in the center. Reference geometry plane. I'm going to base it on the right plane, and I'm going to make it 3 millimeters away, so it's going to be in the center. Okay, and on that plane I'm going to sketch a circle like so, diameter 2. I'm going to extrude it mid-plane 14. So select the sketch, features, extrude mid-plane 14, merge the result. That's what I was trying to achieve. Okay. Now there's a kind of a pattern, a cutout pattern in it. I should show you here. We're going to be cutting out this pattern here. We're going to do one of them and then kind of mirror it. So on one side, so on that surface, I'll go sketch, get myself a center line going from the up to the center that way, and also that way. I'm going to lock it on horizontally to the circumference there and there. Now I'm going to go with a circle from the center there, and the distance between that and that needs to be 1. Okay, and I'm going to go with another circle. I'll do a bit of trimming in a minute. The distance from this one to this one also needs to be 1. And I need a vertical line going up here and another one going across here, and both of them are going to be 0.25 millimeters away from their respective center lines. And we'll do some trimming. 0.25, and the bits I don't need, so I should be left with a fully enclosed shape, which I am. And we're going to do, instead of drawing it 4 times, we're going to do a circular pattern of these 4 bits, and it's doing it there for me automatically, so I don't need to select anything. Like so, end sketch, and I have to do an extrude cut of that sketch. So I'm going to just go select the sketch, extrude cut 5 millimeters into it, like so. Okay, so that's file save out. That's a new part. That's called, we call that the wheel hub. It's like the axle that it's going to go on. New part. And in this one we are going to draw the mouse wheel, which is simple enough. I shall do it on the front plane. Sketch, center line from the origin. In fact, I want to go up and down from the origin, like so. I want a horizontal one in line there. And I want to go, I'm going to do a bit of mirroring here, so I'm just going to draw this little profile here. Up, over, up, vertical. And I want a semicircle. Bring that back over. Like so, and I'm going to put that center point on that center line, coincidentally, and these gaps are 0.25, like with the wheel that we just drew earlier, the axle thing, the wheel hub. 0.25, 0.25, that doesn't look right. Anyway, this here has to be 3. Okay, this is radius 3. And I'm going to extend my center line up, yeah, to make sure it's still on it. Great, and then I want a 6 millimeter gap between this here and this here. Let me try that again. 6 millimeter gap between here and here. And and I'm going to trim that bit off and then mirror it. Mirror entities. I think I can drag a box around them. We have a fully enclosed shape. Everything's fine there, and I'm going to do another revolve here, and I have my axis there. Revolve boss base. Pick my axis as this. You get a kind of a donut effect, but it has little grooves on the wheel there, like so. And that's my wheel. I'll start putting a bit of materials on this here now. I'm going to make this shiny rubber. Glossy rubber. Wheel hub, I'll make that, let's go low gloss plastic, black. Okay, the next thing to do is, now I didn't draw this little LED yet, so I'm just going back through my, oh there it is there, yeah, new part, the little LED that goes in the bottom, forgot about that. So I'll do that on the top plane, it doesn't really matter. Sketch a circle from the origin. It's diameter 2 because it has to fit in the hole underneath on the bottom. Right, I'm going to extrude that downwards because it's going to be upside down. You know, it has to diameter 2, distance 1 millimeter. And what I'm going to do is put a dome on the bottom, on the underneath side. So insert, features, dome. That's my surface, and I want to go with a 1 millimeter dome, like so. And I'm going to make that material. Surprisingly, we have lights as a material, and LED, red LED. File, save as LED. Okay, so I should probably put a few materials on the actual mouse itself. I'm just going to open it back up. So I'm just going to look at the diagram of the mouse to see what it looks like again. Okay, so the top is going to be high gloss plastic, red. Now be careful here what I want. Now I'm going to go with faces here, and I think the fillets should get it as well. So I'm going to copy the appearance, and I'm going to go around these little surfaces here, faces. And I'm going to make sure that these are all red plastic. So this is tedious. The tedious work of adding all these fillets, but it'll look good at the end. So I'm just holding control here, by the way. I might have not said that. So I think I have enough selected. We can always add more in. So what I'll do here is right click in one of these blue spaces and go to paste. Now what I might do is just same again, copy appearance. I'm going to select this one here as well. Nearly there. And paste. That's not too bad. Now at the bottom I'm going to make high gloss plastic, black. That works there, it's the whole body, so it'll do everything else in black bar what I've done. Actually worked out really well. The little rubber feet at the bottom, let's go with rubber, matte rubber. Where the hell is that thing now? So I'm going to put that onto the Boss Extrude, so all four of them do that. Okay. What I might do is might go with grey plastic for the inside of the for the inside of the socket here. So cut extrude. So it just does it to the cut extrude. Okay. Okay, nearly there. I have one more thing to do. It's a mouse mat. So sketch. Just get the dimensions for it. It's 200 by 160. Very simple. Features. Sorry, sketch. Go to center rectangle, top plane. 200 that way. 160 that way. Extrude it to a distance of 5 millimeters, and we're going to put some fillets on the corner. 5 millimeters. Fillet the edges. Okay, it doesn't say what fillet to put on, but I'm going to make it up myself. I don't want the face. Let's go with 15, just see what that looks like. Once again, the book doesn't tell us what fillet to put on it, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, now the top surface, I think there's fabric. Some old mice mats had fabric tops on them. Cloth. I'll go blue cotton. That'll probably work. Yeah. And this one here will be, the bottom will be some sort of foam, if I can find that. So that would be in rubber maybe. No, I'll just go with matte rubber. Like so. Now there's a couple of decals we need to put on it. A SolidWorks and a PDST decal. So I'm just going to look normal to that there. Okay, so in here, decals, add decal. I'm going to find my folder, PDST mouse on my desktop. PDST mouse and PDST logo, I'll go with that first. I'll put it on there. Now we want use alpha decal channel. I'm going to rotate that into, I want to get 270 exactly. There we are. I'm going to resize that and put that down there. I didn't mean to do that. I could go in and just type 270 into the mapping section there. So I think that's fine. Yeah, 270 there. It's grand. Okay, I'm going to add another one. Add decal. I'm going to get the SolidWorks logo now. So PDST mouse, SolidWorks logo. Click the surface. Use alpha decal channel. I'll go into mapping and I'll just go 270. Like so, and just place it there. It's good enough. Green tick. Isometric view. File. Save as. Mouse mat. That's all my parts done now. So all that's left to do is an assembly. Close that. All my parts are closed. So the assembly that I'll do. File. New. Assembly. And I will take in the mouse mat first as my base part. So mouse mat. Okay, then I'll insert components. I'll bring the mouse itself in. And what I want to do is get that mouse mat sitting on it. So I'll go mate, and I'm going to make sure that I mate that surface with that surface there, coincident. Green tick. And that one there, and the top of the mouse. Jesus, what happened there? That one there, coincident. And it's gone all over the place here. That one there, and that there, coincident. Let me just grab that. I think I can just drag it on. I don't need to. Just go to an elevation view. It'll, yeah, it's showing me that it's touching it completely. That's exactly what we want. Maybe only 2 of them wheels I needed to do. Let's see now. So we're going to put the mouse axle in, maybe. So insert components. Actually, I'll put the LED in next. That's on the bottom. So what I probably need to do here is just drag that out. Drag the LED out to the side. We'll do a concentric mate to begin with. Concentric, grand. I'm just going to pull that out there on purpose, and what I'll do is, because everything's black, it's very hard to see, I'll go to hidden detail visible. Now this one here, I'll go mate that bottom surface with that bottom surface, coincident. So it's quite far into the hole there, but sure, that's it. Grand. Go back to my normal display. Now I'll insert a component. Wheel hub. Okay, now I'm going to take that shaft there and make it concentric with the socket that it's going to sit into. There, concentric, yeah. Now where's it gone? So you can see that it'll move. Actually, what I'll do now is take that there and that there, make it coincident. And I will insert component again and do the mouse wheel. Okay, so I'm just going to turn back on my graphics there. That one there, that surface there, I'm going to make concentric with that. Green tick. And I'm going to take, we'll say, so I'm going to use these grooves as a kind of a guide here. So I think maybe that, this outer one here, and this outer one here, I think they match up together. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to drag the mouse onto the mat a bit better, like so. I'm just going to have a look at the hidden detail, just particularly with the mouse axle. You can see it fits perfectly in the hole there. There seems to be a little bit of a clash there. Could be wrong though. Maybe that could be to do with the slot that I cut earlier. So if you have to make sure things like that there's enough clearance for components. So maybe I could go back. I'm not going to do it now, but I could go back and I could make, we'll say, maybe this wheel, the diameter slightly smaller or the slot slightly bigger. There probably needs to be a little bit more clearance width-wise as well in it there. But that's pretty much it there. You can drag that around. So it's kind of difficult to get it the way you want it. What I probably should have done first was maybe bring the mouse in, assemble the mouse, and then bring the mouse mat in. Let's have a look at a quick SolidWorks add-ins, PhotoView 360. We'll see what it looks like. Oh, I bet you this is going to crash now. Hopefully it won't. Render tools. Just move that over there. Okay, so preview window. This is turn perspective on. I should have saved this file. I bet you it'll crash. If it does, it does. It's done anyway. the main bulk is done. But it'll look pretty impressive now with the high gloss plastic, and even the decals will look well. So we'll just give it a second there. So preview window. Okay, it's opened up my other screen. I'm just going to let it just kind of settle for a second before I try and move it. Okay. Nope, wrong one. There we are. Yeah. So you can see it's hard to see down there with the percentage about 50%, but when that gets to 100, it'll look pretty impressive. Of course, I always try and put a scene on it. So I go up to my scenes, basic scenes. The one I always use is the office one. I could even put where is it now? Office space. I even put a table underneath it sometimes to make it look a bit more authentic. Final render. I'm after closing out final render there. Let's go back into it. Perspective view should always be on as well when doing the render, so just make sure about that. Come on, come on, come on. Oh shit, I went to final render there. I shouldn't have went to final render. Should have just went to preview. Okay, I'm just worried about the floor reflection and shadows and stuff like that. It's not coming out too well. Edit scene, floor reflection, floor shadows. Right, I'm not going to do any more messing with it. I'll just let the final the preview window open, have a quick look at it, see if the shadows of the floor adjusted itself. If not, it doesn't really matter. It's just something we can work on separately towards the end of the project when we go to do our renders. Simple as that. Yeah, okay, it sorted itself out there. So it looks pretty impressive. I'm happy enough with that. Any questions, you can let me know. So just to reiterate that the booklet is not great. There's a lot of mistakes in it. There's probably a few different ways of doing things in there that aren't ideal. There's probably better ways of doing stuff, which I did, but I'm happy enough with that process there in this video, so follow that if you can.